Note the disclaimer.
Sure, I don't like the marvelization of this DreamWorks logo, but the real issue here is how all these characters wave their privacy to be spied upon at will by the Moonchild Fisher Prince. The only reason they're all waving happily is because the MCFP doesn't forget.
Another day, another logo sin. And yet no closer to getting back to how it originally was when CinemaSins was just silent about it.
Random Otter survives this obvious hate crime.
Ah, boy. We're in for a long one, folks.
Hello, bonjour.
Guten Tag, Ujambo. Hola.
Congratulations on your purchase.
Making sure your robot says a token hello in multiple languages and then only using English to deliver the important information. So it remains clear who the important customers are.
Or it could be that Roz is demonstrating her multilingual skills to show Universal Dynamics' worldwide reach. And then when she receives a task from her customer, the response will dictate what language she speaks. There's also various points where we like to say things for fun in other languages like domo arigato, bon appetit, gesundheit, hola, and bellissimo.
Adorable as it is, why does the robot need to measure things in units of its own size? Can't it just, measure it normally and know what that means?
Not really, especially as you just called it adorable.
This extremely advanced robot somehow doesn't have very basic object recognition that would instantly tell it A, this is a crab, and B, this is not a customer.
The reason this was never in her database was because she and the rest of the Rosms were created to assist humans, not animals. Nor can she interact with them. Also, she is a lost robot at this point.
Why is the multifunctional utility robot clumsy?
Because she wasn't designed to navigate the bushland unlike a suburban community. Seriously, I'm only a minute into the video here and Jeremy is just sinning this robot for not being perfect.
Using the Seeing Jesus in Toast method for your robot's pattern recognition software.
Really? You're gonna sin Roz for using pareidolia? Even though she was correct in assuming this squirrel's tree was its home? You really are trying to plumb new depths for a sin, huh?
I want to know what this poor porcupine did to receive this many goddamn harassment stickers.
Well, I'm not going to tell you, because it isn't important to the film. And even if they did, you'd call this padding the runtime and sin it anyway.
I will take a second to say that this movie is beautiful, and I'm glad someone noticed how much we all love the animation in Puss in Boots 3. However, I am not comfortable living in a world where Hollywood is actually capable of learning the right lessons.
Wait a minute! Since when was there a Puss in Boots 3? It's Puss in Boots 2 where we first see this art style. Also, this counts as sinning something you like. And yes, I know, it's very similar to what Captain Vader said in both his own and Luke's videos, but this is all Jeremy is doing here. Deluding himself into thinking there's a third Puss in Boots movie, and sinning something he likes. So because of this, I'm going to add the sins from Vader's comments on this review.
Hey, check it out. Look.
Rosm can now speak to animals, completely disregarding the fact that they may not even use language as we understand it.
Maybe not, but again, this is an animated movie in which animals are capable of more complex thought, a robot breaks programming to be a mother to a gosling, the Golden Gate Bridge is underwater, and the animals on the island stop killing each other. This isn't our reality!
Also, movie presumes that all animals, regardless of species, speak in the same language, and that evolutionary convenience is slightly too beneficial to the movie's needs for me to accept at face value.
Again, this is supposed to be absurdist and unrealistic. It's a staple of animated movies with animal characters. Like, for example, Ants, A Bug's Life, Brother Bear, Chicken Run, Dumbo, Finding Nemo, Flushed Away, Happy Feet, Ice Age, Kung Fu Panda, The Lion King, Madagascar, Over the Hedge, Puss in Boots, Ratatouille, Shark Tale, Surf's Up, The Bad Guys, and Zootopia, with the only exceptions being any film in which they still act entirely like animals or have a smaller screen presence, like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, Hercules, How to Train Your Dragon, Sleeping Beauty, The Book of Life, and Up.
It was an interesting programming choice to make sure the robot intended for familial use writes itself in the creepiest way possible, complete with Frankenstein arms. Also, yes, I know it's technically Frankenstein's monster, but that doesn't flow as nicely, and also shut up.
Hold on, I'm lost. Is this a Jeremy answers himself cliche, or screw the audience in? Or preempting what people like myself, Luke, or Vader would say? Ah, it. It's all three.
Did anyone order me?
Yes, I believe DreamWorks did after spending an afternoon watching Pixar movies and concluding, well, I guess we haven't done a Wall-E yet.
Wrong. Much like with How to Train Your Dragon, The Wild Robot is based on a book that was published in 2016. And it seems like your only conclusion for tying the two movies together is just based on the fact that they're robots. A big problem here is that WALL-E was a love-centric space opera, and The Wild Robot is more a journey of self-discovery for a lost robot with more intelligent thought. They are nothing alike!
Activating return transmitter. 3, 2, 1.
This transmitter is how Universal Dynamics locates its robots. So what's the advantage of making it so easily removable other than for this comedic bit?
To set up the first conflict of the movie, which if it didn't exist would just have Roz returning to the factory like she planned to, and Bright Bill's family would still be alive. And if that was the case, we wouldn't have a movie.
Maybe it's because of the Bruce Almighty moon, but I didn't realize raccoons could climb trees as a team in a giant ball. If you're on the inside of this ball, you're not only doing the work of climbing the tree, but you're also bearing the load of multiple passengers. I'm gonna grade this impossible.
And since you constantly misunderstand cartoon physics, I'm gonna say this sin is overruled.
The movie conveniently doesn't show you the raccoons that didn't hit the water and are currently smeared across rocks.
Why in the blue hell would you want to see that? That would be pretty damn horrific to show in an animated family movie.
Aw, there's one baby remaining. This is just like Finding Nemo. Only this time we're being asked to root for the barracuda.
Say, Vader, mind popping in here?
So, it's not like Finding Nemo then?
Yeah, it most certainly is not. And also, like Luke mentioned, this was an accident, and the barracuda did it on purpose.
Throughout this chase, you'll be asking yourself questions such as, why doesn't the fox just eat the egg?
Because Roz is chasing him.
And how is the egg not smashed to pieces by all the grabbing and dropping?
Because despite his plans with it, he's being careful not to destroy or damage it so that he can have something to eat later.
And why is the robot interfering in the natural order of things?
Because after what just happened, Roz has a new duty of care for the egg, and later Bright Bill himself.
Oh, cool. This robot comes equipped with a dangerous three-headed torture device that hilariously pulls out harmless tweezers. Arnold Toth from Raiders of the Lost Ark would be impressed.
Jeremy, it's Indiana Jones. They want their antagonist back. Also sending something you like.
I do not understand this response.
Dad?
No!
The monster!
Apparently some possums study under William Shatner when learning to play dead.
I don't know if this is supposed to be an over-the-hedge reference since Shatner played a possum there, and now Catherine O'Hara, who previously voiced a porcupine in that movie, is now doing the same thing here. But I'm just gonna say not a sin and move on. If I get a call, I'll deal with it later. Oh, and also, quick note, I'm now basically putting this video out just after the news in which Catherine O'Hara had unfortunately passed away at the age of 71. So, bit unfortunate, but I just wanted to say rest in peace to the beloved comedian, and your work will not soon be forgotten.
That gosling stalks me, emits noise, and makes simple tasks more complicated or impossible.
Thing I told Greta Gerwig on the set of Barbie somehow makes it into the script.
But that's not even relevant to this movie. Besides, I'm fairly certain Greta Gerwig, much like other directors, probably hates you anyway.
Eat.
This robot has the ability to communicate with the entire forest now, so it's amazing to me that she doesn't seek help from the other birds in the area to get information, or even let some other bird adopt this one.
Well, first off, Mrs. McAllister had already explained to Roz that goslings imprint on the first thing they see. Then she gave her the task of looking after him by feeding him, teaching him to swim and fly, until he's old enough and experienced enough to migrate.
I have some essential needs.
Do foxes know what turkeys look like when they're cooked, or am I just supposed to roll with it?
Well, since this is a nonsensical gag in an animated movie, it is most certainly the latter.
Think, as a local goose expert, how do I get to eat, swim, fly?
Rosam decides to trust the advice of the animal that just licked a touchscreen to taste the picture of a turkey.
Because in the dialogue you cut out, Fink claimed to be a local goose expert, and because Roz believes everything she hears, she trusts him.
Rosam inhibition protocols prevent deliberate harm to others.
Citation needed, mainly to offset the existing citations already in this movie of Roz deliberately harming others.
When it came to the raccoon horde, it was self-defense. With Fink, she was keeping Bright Bill safe.
Thanks, Vader. And besides, Jeremy, you cut out another line of dialogue explaining why that line was there. She was saying her transmitter was damaged after Brightbill pecked it. So Fink said, once we find another robot, we can kill it and take its transmitter. So in this instance, it wasn't self-defense, and more so scavenging. And that is what a ROSM inhibition protocol is there to prevent.
Is it normal to burp this much? Ooh.
For a DreamWorks property, I'd actually say you're under par.
Except not all DreamWorks have this gross-out humour. Trolls covers it up with different objects. It's practically non-existent in How to Train Your Dragon, Madagascar, and Rise of the Guardians, with a few exceptions. And it wasn't even a thing for the earlier movies like Ants, The Prince of Egypt, The Road to El Dorado, Chicken Run, or Joseph King of Dreams. You only seem to tie this studio to gross-out jokes because Shrek came swinging out of the gate with it, and then it was similarly used in Shark Tale Over the Hedge and flushed away. Not to mention you hate when Illumination does this, but Disney, Pixar, the former Blue Sky Studios and more haven't been above these kinds of jokes either, as Grandy Tomias points out in his video covering your take on Trolls.
And that's what happens to your brain when you eat wood.
Thing my college girlfriend said to get out of fellatio?
No, you. Cold shower, now.
Humor is based on misfortune?
It's also based on how much I hate and actively misunderstand a movie, but that lesson won't be taught until junior year.
Also, you admit that you actively misunderstand movies. Well, between this and the Ratatouille video all three of us have covered, I'd say you're going out of your way to sabotage the movie industry in general. And do you want to know something? We're not gonna take it!
How will fictional narrative help Brightbill?
Kids need to feel safe and loved and all that junk.
A story can do that.
Proof that DreamWorks understands the fundamentals of crafting a compelling story, but on balance, chooses not to.
Again, you only seem to be going off the gross-out gags from the early 2000s catalogue, when there's actually more to these movies than just that. This movie is in much more of the same emotional core as Trolls, Madagascar, How to Train Your Dragon and more, and yet you are the one that's ignoring it.
There's this beautiful robot that happened to be sitting on the edge of that star, and she hears him.
Which is impossible since sound does not travel through the vacuum of space.
A ROSM would always complete their task at CinemaSins.
Because she took a fictional narrative too seriously, even though she knew it was fictional? Yeah, she'll fit like a glove.
Hakuna Matata, Hakuna Matata.
Jeremy sings in a video cliche.
We were bored and wanted to see stuff sink.
The MCU.
Oh boy, Jeremy's at it again. What have you got for us, Vader?
A lot. I already brought up stuff like Brave New World and Daredevil Born Again in my Wild Robot video, but since then, more MCU content has come out that debunks Jeremy's point even further. You got the new Avengers and Fantastic Four that both got great reviews, with Fantastic Four even doing pretty well at the box office. Spider-Man 4 has gotten some excitement around the behind-the-scenes footage, and everyone is talking about the Avengers Doomsday trailers a whole year before it even comes out. Yeah, totally sounds like the MCU is dying, right?
So for the third time for these rebuttals, you're way off on your critique, Jeremy.
Look what we have here.
This scene in The Wild Robot is brought to you by Stephen King.
Okay, I'm just as lost as Vader here.
I don't know how much research and engineering dollars went into creating the ROSMs, but I bet it's enough that the investors will be pissed by the end product being a robot unable to circumvent a waist-high pond and a rock.
The ROSMs weren't designed with this kind of environment in mind. The promotional video we see later shows they're only meant for residential and suburban use. In other words, as butlers, janitors, childcare workers, and anything else in between.
That thing killed your mother.
Holy shit, who knew the wilderness was filled with such gossipy
Well, holy shit! Who knew CinemaSins would be filled with question-a-minute nags? See, Jeremy? It goes both ways.
They were my chance to be normal. They were my chance to swim, to fly.
to skip?
Oh, you heartless bastard! And as Luke mentions, you forgot to add were in the yellow text between they and my.
This kid somehow took a trip on an airplane without his balloon getting popped.
Well, as Matidia Lauren pointed out on Vader's video, commercials have unrealistic shots and bits of information all the time. But even if that wasn't the case, this film is set in the future due to the advanced technologies they have compared to us in the present. Meaning there could have either been new materials for these balloons, or other ways to prevent it from popping.
Introducing the Rosm line of helper robots.
Brought to you by Handy Exposition Presentations, when you absolutely positively have to spoon-feed information to your audience.
Yet if it wasn't in the movie, we'd all be wondering where Roz came from and what the Rosm robot's initial purpose is.
The processing that used to happen here is now coming more from here.
Excuse me, movie, but I think you got some chappy in my cartoon, and I would humbly request you excise it this minute.
Oh, for f***'s sake, it was already bad enough that you brought up Johnny 5 in the Wall-E video, and now this? Disappointing, Jeremy. Now you go put him back where he belongs.
I have been overriding my code for months. It was the only way to complete my task.
The only way? I'm not buying it. If this chip's so advanced, then it must include some David Attenborough documentaries.
Oh my god. That was never part of her programming!
Also, I would assume the first law of making AI robots is that they are not allowed to change their own coding. But perhaps that's just me and my silly desire to remain not extinct.
Just so you know, Jeremy, you're not Isaac Asimov. Especially as his first law directly says a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. And this was the same principle Rosm explained before you called out citation needed.
If you are willing to do this, you can fly away.
I've probably already mentioned this a couple times, but I'm still floored that it took this long to getting around to teach flying.
Actually, you haven't. This is the only sin like it.
Meet Thunderbolt.
Did this movie give us any inkling that badass Falcon Wing Rames was around?
No, this is our first introduction to him.
But easier to turn and dies.
Right after this, some sort of, I don't know, Sabrina Rodrigo song comes crashing into the scene and it just ruins it.
And here I thought I was bad with memorizing names. Anyway, that's not even close to correct, as both this song and Even When I'm Not for the end credits were both sung by a 35-year-old millennial named Maren Morris. And this is the perfect song to play for this flight training montage.
You should be commended.
Ah, sudden duck, Bill Fly.
Sending Rattlesnake Jake.
A bit worse for wear, I'm afraid.
I'd say you shine like new.
Does the goose want to f*** this robot?
No!
This migration somehow Forrest Gump's one of Bright Bill's feathers right to Roz.
My mama always said, life is like a box of chocolates. Jeremy Scott always ruins them.
What a great way to end the movie. The task of parenting is complete, Bright Bill is with his people, and Roz is left an empty husk, just as a parent should be. It's nice when a movie knows how to end. Why are there 35 minutes of credits?
Much like Captain Vader said in his video and Luke repeated, it's because Roz isn't sure what to do with herself now. Also, there's more than 35 minutes left of the runtime.
Think?
Unless you want to stay, because we could hang out and do stuff.
Does the fox want to f*** this robot?
No!
Even in cartoons, the use of holograms appear to be stupid and unnecessary, especially since this employee gets a notification on an actual monitor just seconds later.
Oh, goody gumdrops. I haven't even started the Star Wars movies yet, and I'm already starting with a Jeremy Sins hologram cliche.
Sometimes hearts have their own conversations.
Yes, this happens, unfortunately. I once had to have a long heart-to-heart with my heart.
Roz, what are you doing here?
Ignoring the veritable plethora of context clues that clearly tell you this is not your Roz.
And how was Bright Bill supposed to know that? Roz never told him about the fact that there are more Rosms back where she was from. She didn't even know where she came from.
I'm sure I'd feel some kind of way about this sacrifice if I'd known this goose for longer than it took to polish off this Hasselback potato and hot wings combo.
Wow. I guess that proves that you can't do two things at once. Anyway, a few extra sins for downplaying this heartbreaking sacrifice.
Right now, we are their only chance.
Movie didn't know what to do with Roz while Bright Bill was away and settled on her acting out a Noah's Ark to the whole island.
And how exactly is that wrong here? She wants to help the animals survive the winter. Because of this, the animals agree to get along instead of fighting each other and assist Roz later when Universal Dynamics shows up.
He found where he belongs.
What a great way to end the movie. The task of parenting is complete. Bright Bill is with his people, the island is saved, and Roz gets the joy of seeing her child thrive. It's nice when a movie knows how to end. Why are there 26 minutes of credits?
Because there's still the issues surrounding Universal Dynamics coming to collect her, even if she defies these wishes by becoming a wild robot.
And where's Longneck?
doing one of the other 9 movies he was in 2024.
So it's a sin for an actor to have multiple roles in multiple films over a year? Ooh, Orlando Bloom might be in big trouble then for doing Lord of the Rings Return of the King and Pirates of the Caribbean The Curse of the Black Pearl, both in 2003.
I am Vondra, Virtual Observational Neutralizing Troublesome Retrieval Authority.
Jesus, just call her Cruel Devil and be done with it.
I don't even know what to say about this one.
My name is Roz.
They also built Vondra to turn red whenever something angers her, because that makes all the sense in the world.
Mate, are you familiar with the term seeing red? It literally means to suddenly become angry. And I should know because several of us EWWCS people often feel it whenever we have to sit through one of your videos. Plus, the colour red is commonly associated with feelings of anger and rage, much like anger from the Inside Out movies. You are not getting a record deal out of this.
This is a wilderness.
And I am a wild robot.
Roll robots.
Not even close.
Come on!
On your left.
Ian said he was going to write something about this, so me, Chris, through Jeremy, is telling you all that anything I have to say about this is not needed.
Thanks, Chris. When I made Jeremy hum the Avengers theme just now, I thought maybe that's a bit of a reach, but I do know that Jeremy likes to sing, and I'm sure he'll do something fun with it.
You thought that'd be fun? That was horrendous. It's a no from me.
Also no.
Yeah, I too will be saying no to that.
That would be a no, and I'd love if he never did that again.
Oh, well, look at that. 4 no's. Sorry, Jeremy.
But this on your left immediately vindicated that choice.
Oh dear. You're still going.
It took me out of the movie so hard that I started going door to door asking people if they'd seen The Wild Robot just so I could scream at them about how fucking unnecessary this on your left bit is.
Uh-huh. Sure. Anyway.
This did not go over well.
You're still going!
With the majority of my neighbourhood or the local constabulary, and now I'm writing this in a police station where no one has seen The Wild Robot. Thanks, DreamWorks.
Are we done? Has Ian finished? Okay, good. Now.
Also.
Oh god, there's more!
It doesn't make any sense because he's not even on the left. He's plowing through the middle of them. You'll never take me alive, coppers!
Okay, well, that was strange. Let's just get back to the regular video, huh? Yeah? Yeah. Oh, also, before I forget...
Not even Luke Solo can hit one of these things so that Leia can claim, we did it, later.
Okay, that just hurt my soul. And it was already in tatters after Ian's rant.
I love you.
Movie takes notes from Interstellar and Back to the Future and activates the power of love, backup power, and backup memories. It's also known as the real you is in there somewhere cliche, and the newly minted take a Hulk to a cherry blossom orchard method.
Oh, for the love of Huey Lewis! 3 pop culture references in one sin? God, this really has to stop! Also, sinning this scene.
We have suddenly taken an interest in your project.
Male bovine excrement.
The source in your swears.
Well, you can't say shit in an animated family movie, Jeremy. Otherwise the rating will be bumped up higher.
Sure is lucky that tree was in the perfect position to redirect this water, and it was already 90% felled by the beaver. The universe wants these animals to make it much more than I do, clearly.
So you want Mark Burial, Pedro Foxcal, Catherine Opossum, Matt Beaver and the rest of them all dead? Also sinning luck again.
They will just keep coming until they have me.
Oh, isn't this when Sully weirdly decides that he has to fake his death and leave the water people because that'll stop the humans from... Why are so many movies like so many other movies?
Okay. Audience, do you want to know why my pop culture reference calls now equate to 20 sins instead of just 1? Because of this pile of male bovine excrement Jeremy keeps shoveling in front of us.
Wherever that is, that's where I keep me. And I promise, they'll never, ever find it.
Yeah, they may not find it, but they might melt it down into license plates and then we'll have sentient cars, and I don't think I can handle that a 4th time.
Wrong studio, sir. Pixar is on the other end of town.
Snowbot.
Jeremy points things out on the screen, cliche.
But you can call me Roz.
Okay, goddammit. Movie, take your sin back, you awesome fucking piece of animated emotions. However, no emotion is without sin.
No. I don't want to hear your excuses. Offering a sin removal only to add one back anyway. And with all that, court is adjourned. Be sure to leave any more suggestions for CinemaSins sins down below, and I will see you in the next video.